Mr. Mayor, thank you. Madam Assemblywoman, we're grateful for your leadership and stewardship. Thank you for the opportunity to join you here today. To Joaquin and Wade, and of course, Carla, thank you for your leadership. These are familiar faces. These are the folks that were on the front lines during the last administration, the Brown administration, working through the last drought. And so when we say we have a team of experts, we have a team of experts leading the way, recognizing the urgency of the moment. But we're here to highlight with renewed sense of urgency truly the moment we're in. In the last few years, Ray referenced this, the hydrology in the state has begun to change pretty significantly. The aridification that we're experiencing leads us now, science and the data leads us to now understand that we will lose 10% of our water supply by 2040. If all things are equal, we will lose an additional 10% of our supply by 2040. As a consequence of that deeper appreciation, that deeper understanding, we have a renewed sense of urgency to address this issue head on. But we do so from a multiplicity of perspectives and ways, not just from a scarcity mindset. And I think so much of the water conservation here in the state, or rather conversation in the state, has been about conservation, has been about a scarcity mindset. But that's a relatively small component of the overall strategy we are introducing here today. What we are focusing on is creating more supply. What we're focused on is creating more water. What we're focusing on are projects exactly like this here in Antioch. And by the way, this project, while it's significant and innovative, it's not particularly novel. We have 37 desal projects in this state, not projects, 37 desal plants operating in the state of California. 14 traditional desalination plants that pull seawater, and 23 programs like this that pull brackish water. While this is innovative, it's innovative for being the first to pull from the Delta and just the second from the Bay. But this technology is much older than I. It's much older than each and every one of you. And the reality is we need to be more creative and we need to be more aggressive in terms of not just promoting this technology, but delivering on its promise, moreover, delivering on its potential. As was noted by the mayor and others, this one project, this simple $100+ million project, $93 million come from the state of California in loans or direct grants, will provide upwards of 30% of the annual water needs for Antioch. Just this one project, 6 million gallons a day of new water, new supply. Again, moving away from a scarcity mindset to one more of abundance. How can we take the existing resources and be more resourceful in terms of advancing policies and direct our energies to create more water, to capture more water, as Carla was saying? We've talked a lot over the course of the last number of years, a recognition that the hots are getting a lot hotter, the dries are getting a lot drier, and as Wade obliquely mentioned, the wets are getting wetter. What he means by that is these atmospheric rivers that are dumping massive amounts of rain overnight. We designed a system, a world, as Joaquin said, that no longer exists. And as a consequence, we have to adapt to that new reality, and we have to change our approach so we can capture more of that stormwater, capture more of that water before it goes out into traditional sewage and pipes out into the ocean. And that's why we have laid out specific strategies, specific goals with specific timelines and dollar figures attached. It was noted, we put out a master plan for water in July of 2020. That came from an executive order that I signed just a few months after I got elected some 3.5 years ago. It had 142 action items, but we laid out 10 specific highlighted items. On all 10, be it removing the Klamath dams, be it removing our mindset that we can't do more to help the Salton Sea, issues around the Delta is controversial, Mayor, I understand, as they are, but moving from gridlock to at least new strategies and new approaches and floodwaters, as was noted, and the like, we made demonstrable progress. And as a consequence, we said, what more can we do with this deeper recognition of the world now we're living in? And that's what this document represents. This, rather than 142 action items and 140 plus pages, is a simple 16-page document that lays out numerical goals in 2030 in 2040 on issues like stormwater capture, on wastewater, on issues related to conjunctive use, forgive me, on issues related to our groundwater management, SIGMA, that was passed in 2014, on issues as controversial as land repurposing, on water purchases, on conveyance, on issues above and below ground. Remember, storage is not just building 20th century, 15th century, 10th century above ground dams. It's also about capturing that water, pumping that water, and restoring our groundwater basins, addressing the issues of subsidence, and providing a much more cost-efficient approach to addressing the issues of storage. All of those issues are laid out in this new action plan. And so I'm proud of that work. I'm proud of the legislative efforts that have provided us, as was noted, some $8 billion. We didn't go ask you to borrow debt. We're not asking you to pay high interest rates. We're using the surplus, $5.2 billion last year, your surplus, $2.8 billion this year, $8 billion, to actualize, not just promote this plan, to implement its principles. $8 billion, not waiting for the voters, moving these projects and doing them with urgency. And I'll close on this point. There's an urgency and recognition, and it was noted in our tour. The time to get these damn projects is ridiculous. It's absurd. It's reasonably comedic. And in so many of the ways, the world we invented is, from an environmental perspective, is now getting in the way of moving these projects forward so we can address the acuities of Mother Nature. Permits that take years and years and years. And so one of the principles of this plan is our efforts to change our permitting. And we're doing that. We're not talking about that. Our Office of Planning Research is one-stop shop through executive orders and through legislative efforts, including those Assemblywomen will be working with you in the next few weeks to advance before the August recess, will help us fast-track these projects, address the regulatory thickets, and move things forward. So if I'm not appearing to be enthusiastic about this, forgive me. I am enthusiastic about this plan. I'm enthusiastic about the innovation that we are advancing in this plan, but more importantly, a deeper sense of urgency, a mindset of intentionality, a focus on real goals and real deliverables with timeframes and resources attached to those timeframes. All of that said, I want to introduce you to someone that is very familiar to all of you, the former Assembly Speaker, someone who served in multiple, as the mayor said, multiple roles in elected office, notably in a small suburb of Antioch, Los Angeles, as mayor for close to a decade. My friend Antonio Villaraigosa, who is today being formally announced, though he's been informally working with us, but formally announced as our new infrastructure czar in the state of California. And that's a big deal. And let me just briefly tell you why. He's going to introduce himself to you and some of his thoughts on this issue. Money's not our problem anymore, folks. All the money that's floating out there over the course of the last number of years, federal dollars, money's not the issue. It's our ability to attract those dollars by being more aggressive to draw down those dollars, because we have a plan, we have resources, we have grants that we can match in order drawing down those funds, and we got someone who's going out there and hustling to get it. There's a lot of categorical funding that comes from that infrastructure bill that was signed by the Biden administration, but there is a substantial amount, tens of billions of dollars, that require us to go out and get it. We've got so many leaders and so many agencies going after their part, but no one that's focused on the state, on you, on 40 million Californians strong. So today that changes, and we have someone that not only doesn't need to be introduced to you, but nor is this someone who needs to be introduced to the subject. This is what he did as effectively. I remember running against this guy saying, the one thing I can't run against is how effective he was on drawing down federal funding as mayor of Los Angeles. So we're lucky to have him. I thank California Forward for helping us with this process and allowing us to have this privilege no further ado, the infrastructure czar in the state of California, former mayor, now czar, Antonio Villaraigosa.